Welcome to Theological Grazing.
My wife and I regularly talk about the way that God works in the world, and especially thinking about the natural world. So speaking on a level of natural revelation, the way that creation itself has revealed God and what he's like and how he works. One of the things I've been thinking about in this regard and talking about, especially with my wife, but also others, is the idea of working in an organic way rather than in maybe a modern industrial revivalistic way. And I know that's maybe some weird terms to kind of put together, and I use industrial and industrialized world in negative ways, just because I don't know of a better way to put it. I don't think all aspects of industrial society are bad. I just think that it's a good way to categorize things, where you have that which is more intimately involved in the natural world and that which is more intimately involved with the things of man, things that man has made and created and built. And that's going to be different. So when I think of the industrial world, what I mean is things like strip mining. You don't think about the long-term consequences. We need to get all this out of here. You strip mine something. You go in and you just lay bare forests. This is the model of a lot of industrialized farming, where you're just stripping the soil of all of its nutrients, so much so that the modern nutritional benefit of even the healthy foods, like just vegetables, the modern nutritional benefit of that is so much less than it used to be because we've destroyed our soils. You create a problem. This is a professor of mine once said that modernity is just creating solutions with technology for the problems caused by the previous technology ad infinitum. It just keeps going. That's kind of what modernity is like, and I think that's true in a lot of ways. That we think, okay, well, we kind of destroyed the soil, which was created by a very organic, natural process. So how do we fix that? Well, it's not by trying to manage and work with nature in the way that God has created it to work, but let's just make something in a lab that then we can spray on the field, and then that's going to work even better. There's a lot, I think, of wisdom in C.S. Lewis as he talks about the idea of men in white lab coats trying to abolish nature, to conquer nature, but doing so not in a taking dominion as stewards, but in a taking dominion as those who will conquer and defeat nature, something like that, and how that just leads to terrible ends. Well, I do think that's what I think of. That's what I mean when I'm talking about the industrial world, or the industrial way that things grow. For instance, I think you see this in spiritual terms in the church with revivalism. Revivalism comes on the heels of the Industrial Revolution, and think about the industrial world is all about pumping out big numbers, even though over time those numbers keep going up, but the actual value within those things keeps going down. Right, the products that we buy are cheaper and cheaper quality. They break easier. They don't last generations. And you buy a crib that just breaks after one child. Whereas, in the past you would have this heirloom crib that was passed down from family to family to family for generations, because it was well crafted. Same with dining room tables. Same with really anything, right? Almost all of the products that we consume, they're cheap. They have planned obsolescence. They're made to break so that we just consume more and we buy more and we get new stuff and we keep going. And so that mindset of just pump out the numbers, that's what we need. We need higher numbers, not necessarily higher quality. That same principle is at work in revivalism. as we say we want to pump up the numbers of professions of faith, but the quality of disciples continues to go down to the point where the actual number of true believers in the church does not seem like that high of a number when you just take into account the modern American church. So if that's the case, and I think that bears itself out, what would a different way of doing things be? What is a better way? Well, look at the way that God works in the world. God works through an organic, a slow, careful, organic process. He works carefully over time instead of really quick, all of a sudden, right now. Now, there are times that that's not true. There are times when God breaks into history in a miraculous way, but the normal way, if you look out at the natural world, and that's mostly what I'm talking about here, and I think this is true and bears out in the history of redemption as well, but if you just look at the natural world, how does those things which are strongest, which last the longest, which are the most beneficial, are things that slowly over time grow. They get better. They get stronger. Grass, as it continues to grow and gets eaten and grow and gets eaten, continues to put deeper and deeper roots down until it is extremely anti-fragile. An oak tree, as it continues to grow, gets stronger and stronger, so much so that its limbs, which are massive, can be supported by the trunk because it had this process of slow growth, but it didn't grow overnight. It took a while. It took time. But also, when you think about this, thinking about the church, then you think, okay, healthy growth, I think, is slow, careful growth over a long period of time. It's not sudden, quick, get everybody through the doors right now kind of growth. That doesn't last, and it's not healthy. It's unhealthy. It's dysfunctional. So if that's the case, and most of the time it is, obviously, again, there are times of actual revival, the Holy Spirit's poured out, and things just go really fast, all of a sudden. That happens. But it's not the norm. It's not the normal way that God works. Well, God also works through pruning. You think, again, about the natural world, something that gains strength. Think about, I just mentioned grass. High-quality grass grows as it is cut down. You cut it, or you have animals that eat it and kind of smash it down with their feet and fertilize it, and then it grows deeper roots, and it continues to grow deeper roots and stronger root systems, and so it gets healthier over time. It keeps growing, but it does so by a kind of pruning. Same thing with trees, right? Trees, if they are pruned well, work better. They grow better. They produce more fruit. So in other words, sometimes cutting back is actually the means of greater growth and fruitfulness. There are many times, I think, that probably cutting different activities or other things within the church is necessary for growth, is necessary for fruitfulness, so that you can focus the energy, the attention, the life of the church on those things which are most beneficial and fruitful. You also think that, when it comes to plants in the natural world, one of the main things that you need is healthy soil. If you don't have healthy soil, if you don't have soil that is full of little microbes and all kinds of life itself, if it's not life-giving soil, well, then the vegetables that you grow in it are not going to be as healthy. They're not going to have as much nutrient density. The same thing is true in the church, isn't it? Right? If those things, if that base soil is not healthy, the rest of the church won't be. If the core parts of the church, the foundations of the church are not healthy, it doesn't matter what programs you have. It doesn't matter how much zeal you have. If the preaching of the word is lacking, if there is no discipline, if there is an unhealthy view and administration of the sacraments, it doesn't matter what else you do. You are going to continue to grow unhealthy, or at least less healthy people. Those things, that soil, right? That which contains so much of the life of the church, the center, the substance of the church. If that's not healthy, what comes out of it won't be healthy either. So I think we can, look at the way that God works in the world, this kind of organic, slow, careful process over time that builds life upon life, that continues to grow and establish itself and put down roots and prune as he prunes things, and that is what actually helps to bring growth. All of this is a way we should then, I think, look at how he works in the church. We're not Gnostics. We believe that the way that God works in the physical world and through the physical world is part and parcel of how he works spiritually speaking. It's maybe not a one-to-one, but it is all connected. And I think that looking out at the natural world and how God works in it is helpful then to help us understand how he works spiritually. Well, that's all, folks. If you could help me out, rate and review this podcast, share it with a friend, go ahead and email me if you have any questions. We're out.